Kia ora, guys, and you talked in the center. I'm out. I'm out. Now I've got to do my candid coffee sip again.
Yeah, do it.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Kia ora, guys, and welcome to another episode of Against the Grain, a little project I've been putting together through the month of Movember to catch up with friends and family and take a chance to check in and maybe normalize the conversations around mental health and well-being, especially with us males. We all know that we could improve in talking about that a little bit more. Like I said, it is for the month of Movember, so if you can, head along to my Mo space and check out the progress of the grow. And if you're able to, any donations would be greatly appreciated. Today on the show, we have a mastermind of movie trivia, a Mo bro himself, and a master of putting meat on the barbie, I guess you could say. It is a good friend, husband, father. It is Kyle Hattie.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Hey man, how are you?
Yeah, good. It's been a good day. It's very hot today, so
It is. We're lucky enough to start enjoying this Melbourne summer weather as it goes up and up and up.
exactly. Yeah.
And how's things?
Yeah, it's good. Glad to be back at work full time on site. It was interesting working from home remotely. Got very good at Google Meets and these sort of things. But all in all, things are going well.
Talking through a screen, I think it's a skill we've all increased this year. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So, yeah, as Reese introduced me and Kyle, I actually met Reese through my wife. Him and her have been long-term friends. You guys lived on the same street and were probably going to school in the same time.
Yep.
Is there?
I think within three or 4 days of each other.
Yeah. So my wife and Reese have been friends for ages, and so sort of met that way, and we sort of caught up on movie trivia, sort of chatting around TV series and the occasional beer every now and then. And that's how I know Reese. I'm a teacher by trade. So I teach at Harvest Home Primary and I teach year 5, but I'm also, it's what you call a learning specialist. So half the week I'm in the classroom teaching, the other half of the week I'm working with the leadership team and other teachers on practice. So my sort of area that I sort of work on is around developing a language of learning for the school I work at and getting the kids to see themselves more than just being good students, but what it means to actually be a good learner. So I've been in Melbourne about a year, and it's sort of been a project and a journey I've been going on, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. It sounds cool. And how did you get into that learning development thing? Was that something you always wanted to, or did it kind of come naturally through teaching?
I think it came naturally through teaching. So I've been in Auckland, I was at various different schools, and every time I was learning some new things and finding out new ways of developing my own practice. And through that, and going back to university after I graduated, so I got my degree, started teaching, went back to university because I wanted to learn more about it. And I was very fortunate to work at 2 different schools. One was a startup school, so it came at the beginning, and I was sort of involved in creating a learning process and creating sort of a culture of what it means to be more of a learner, the aspects of what does that actually mean. Right. Not just getting knowledge, but what are the different skills behind it? What are the different attitudes, behaviors, and how does it actually work? But then working at my last school in Auckland, Stonefields Primary, they're sort of renowned for making a lot of changes through the education system. They're sort of the way their journey that they were on through the 10 years that they've been open have really developed more than just content knowledge, but was more around how do kids connect with learning? How do you gain that? And what is the skill of learning? So moving over to Melbourne, that was something that the school that I'm at was really interested in. And so when I reached out, we had a conversation around what that could look like. And so we were developing these things called learning dispositions. So it's sort of, if you take what a learner actually does, what are the behaviors, what are the attitudes, what's the mindsets behind it, and then trying to think of, can I put that into a classroom content? Combine curriculum, knowledge, and behavior and put them all together, and how does this influence and support that? So something I've been passionate about for a while, myself because I'm really interested to know new things and figure out how to do it.
Absolutely.
I was never a great student at school, but as I grew through teaching and when I went back to uni, I actually figured out how I could get the good grades.
Right. And do you think
not really smart?
Do you think that helped motivate your passion for pushing this so much? I could say the same. As I don't think school was my strong suit, but when you move into a university situation or a practical application of these skills, suddenly, oh my God, of course I want to learn maths if I can make a loud amplifier that my guitar can go through, or something along those lines.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really what sparked that interest in that. So like through high school and getting my first degree as a teacher, it was all about the pass grade.
Right.
Didn't much to do what I needed to do because my mentality throughout school was, I can learn, I can do this, but I'm not going to be a top scholar. Then after a few years of teaching and working with those kids who felt the same way and trying to change the way they look at education, and trying to say that, well, you can actually go through it. It's hard, but you can do it. And then learning around these learning dispositions, learning models, and actually how to do it. When I went back to uni a second time to get my postgrad, my goal was I needed to get a B+ average to open myself up to do a master's one day.
Right.
Not that was my goal, but I wanted the option. And I thought that was almost impossible because I was at C-SCIT degrees. And then it turned out I was getting A's and A+.
Right, because you had changed your attitude towards the learning.
Yeah, I wasn't the smartest person in the class. I didn't know everything more. I knew what I needed. I knew how to focus on that. And when it came down to writing assignments, doing tests and that sort of thing, I had skills and strategies and tools that I could apply that I learned on my way as a teacher to sort of get that. My aim was, this is what an A looks like. I'm going to try to achieve that. And if I get anywhere close, I'm happy.
Absolutely.
And I surpassed it, which I was pretty stoked about.
Yeah. And I mean, you've gone on to do great things. I mean, coming over to Melbourne and introducing it here as well was fantastic. I guess my question would be, you said that you finished your degree and then you made the choice to go back. So there must have been some time in between. Was that a weird decision or a hard decision? Because I know going back to study is always you're not going to have a full-time job. You're going to have to be back in assignments and studying and stuff like that. And especially because you mentioned that you weren't, fond of the study area. Was it a tough decision, or what guided you back to going into it?
It was about 5 years into my teaching career, and I got to a point where I thought I knew what I wanted, and I wanted to know more about how to be better at what I do. And that was the thing. There was a gap that I was missing. There was something that was missing that I thought I needed. Mm-hmm. I did it part-time. So I was working full-time as well.
Right.
So I did sort of like a night course once a week. Then I had my first daughter, so we had Emma. So I took a year off and then went back to it. So it took about 4 years to do again, or 3 years. 3 years to do again. And it was, I don't think it was a hard decision. I think it was just my natural progression, my next step. I got curious about something, so I went for it.
Absolutely. And I guess that helps a lot as well, is if you want to head in that direction, taking that decision is a lot easier.
Exactly. And yeah, I've done it again. I've actually recently just applied to do my master's at Melbourne Uni. So so I'm hopefully, I've just gone through the process of doing the application, and those applications aren't easy. It's like they need to have a course about how to apply for university for you know?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So I'm just waiting on a response to be like, you've missed this, give me this and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm kind of hoping to do.
But hey, that's awesome that that avenue can open up.
Definitely.
So when you're working with, like you said, learning how to learn better, I guess, is that more to do with the teachers, or are you working with the kids?
Yeah, both.
Both, right.
So when we first started talking to the kids around it, the attitude was very much, so you ask them what makes a good learner.
Okay.
And they instantly go to, I sit up straight, I listen to the teacher, I do all my work, I focus on what I need to do, I don't get distracted by my friends. And in the back of your mind, as a teacher, you're just like, you're supposed to do that.
Yes, right, yeah.
That's just being a good person, I don't interrupt people.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to interrupt people. But you ask, okay, what does success in learning look like? I complete the task. You can complete a task and get it 100% wrong.
Right, of course, yeah.
So it's trying to retrain. It's not just about being a good student. Yes, they need that. That's, school is a game and they have to learn how to play it. So that's part of the rules. But at the same time, it doesn't make you learn better.
Right.
Yeah. Like if you can think of, everyone's probably got that friend that didn't really listen at school, didn't pay attention, skived off. But then when it came down to, I need to get my assignment, and they got it in and they got great marks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a few friends like that. They didn't put the effort in, but they were naturally smart, or they knew how to do enough.
Right. Yeah.
They had some learning skills there. They could be, they were naturally talented, but it's actually not that. It's they knew how to apply themselves for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to be the best student to be the best learner and get the most impact.
Right.
Because that's about making growth, whether it is a small amount or a huge amount. That's the teacher's job. You want the kids to, when they're with you, to at least make minimum 12 months growth for 12-month input. We're there, we have them for a year. We want them at least a year ahead. If they can go further than that, bonus. That's kind of what we hope for.
Yeah.
And especially for those ones who are coming in a little bit behind. They need more.
For sure.
So getting these skills and getting these attitudes instilled with the kids about, how do I approach my learning? Here's the knowledge I'm trying to get. Here's the skill I'm trying to get, or the strategy I'm trying to get. How do I do it and how do I apply it?
Right.
So that they can continue enjoying school.
Yeah, and I think that's a big one is, I was going to ask, do you take the time to check in with the kids and how they're doing and coping with things? Because I imagine that has a huge impact, whether it's a teacher relationship or a schoolyard relationship. If things aren't going great, they're going to, especially kids, are going to get distracted or upset. Do you open up those kind of conversations with the kids?
Definitely. And I think one of the things the Department of Education in Melbourne has done is coming back from remote learning. It's around re-engaging.
Right.
Getting kids back to school, back to COVID norm, back to wanting to be here, happy, safe. And that. Because for some kids, school is a safe place.
Right.
It's their comfort zone. It may not be home. Some people home is, some people school is not. But we're trying to make sure that when they're coming through the gates, their focus is on enjoying themselves, learning some skills, and school is not just about academics. it's that life skill as well, interacting with people, social. And our school has a program called SWPBS, which is School-Wide Positive Behavior for Learning. And it's all around how to deal with situations, how to sort of, when things get hard, what do you do? When you have an altercation with a mate, or even through learning or in the playground, what do you do? How do you make yourself safe? Those sort of things. So that is a big part of what we do. And there is sort of lines where we do have to be like, okay, now we're not social workers. We're not qualified.
Yes, of course. Yep.
But I think there's a study a while back that showed the number one indicator of health, wealth, and happiness was time at school, time in higher education. The longer you spend in education, the more of an impact it has on those three things.
That's very interesting.
And it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a formal tertiary thing. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to university.
Yeah.
Those people who realize school is not the place for them, they want to go and do a trade.
Exactly.
They want to be an apprenticeship.
And I think that's I think that's a good point there as well, is that I think it is, whether it's the system I went through or whether it's more widespread, is that university is very much this is where you need to go if you want to get anywhere. And I don't think that's the right message to send out to kids that might want to, do all kinds of different stuff.
Exactly. And I think it's about options. Like, if you can get through your education system, or if you can get through to a point where you're good and you have enough options for you to be happy, then that's success.
Absolutely.
Like, if your lifelong dream is to be the local garbage man, do it. If it makes you happy, go through enough and do that. But don't make that your only option.
Right.
Have enough so you can fall back on.
Right.
I think a good example is those really athletic, talented athletes, right? They go through and they make, just a basketball player, make the NBA straight out of high school. They are that good, naturally talented, gone through just on playing ball. That's all they want.
Yep.
First year, they break their leg so badly they can't do that anymore. What's next?
Yeah, unfortunately, and it happens to a lot of people.
Rugby players with concussions, that sort of thing, they work their ass off to get to where they need to be.
Yeah.
They do it. They persevere. They get through. They get 4 or 5 concussions in the first year. I'm not a rugby player. I don't know how many you need to get told stop playing, but I don't assume it's too many hitting your head. But you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
What's your option?
Yeah.
It's leave yourself open. So if your goal is to be a garbage man and that's what you want to do and that makes you happy, do it for 2 years. You're sick of it, move on to something else.
Yeah, I think that's also linking into what you said about moving on to that next step is, of course you're allowed to. If you're curious about something, then move into it. I just wanted to jump back quickly on something you were mentioning about the kids being happy at school. You let them know if there's an altercation, how to deal with it, and so on and so forth. Do you find that teaching that and pushing that, like you said, half a week in each thing, you're obviously very involved. Do you think that comes into your personal life outside of school as well? Do you find yourself learning those lessons for your own situations?
Yeah. I think you have to. You can't just be involved and try to harp on about something if you're not applying that. Because the things around the skills of learning and the attitudes and the dispositions you need to do that it's not just for school. It's not just for knowing stuff, but it's about how to grow as a person. Like, some of the things I'm sort of learning around. So one of our ones that we came up with, we created 7 learning dispositions for our school. One of them was self-aware.
Okay.
And that's being aware in yourself, knowing where you belong, knowing where you fit, but also knowing what you are and what you're not. what you're capable of and what you're not, and then knowing how to deal with that. And I think for me, I'm not a very organized person. My wife can attest to that. And for me, when coming to remote learning, I had to have everything in place. I couldn't rely on someone else to know where I had to file things correctly. I had to do all that admin stuff that I despise doing. I do because I have to do as part of the tick boxes, but it's not one of the things I do best.
Right.
So I had to be really self-aware myself to be like, okay, how do I do that?
Yeah.
Put things in place.
So, okay.
But then also,
sorry, go on.
Yeah, with all the idea of being self-aware, me being my best for the school, for the kids, for home. And I've got 2 kids, so once I finish with school kids, I come home with my kids as well, and I still got to putting on, making sure that I'm my best for them.
Yep.
And there was probably a week in the first week and a half of remote learning where even though I was home, I was working longer hours.
For sure.
Worked too hard, didn't stop, didn't take breaks, didn't go outside for a walk. And I burnt out completely. And just like, no, called my school up and I'm going to need a day or 2. Had a few days to reset, but then I know, okay, I'm reset now. I don't want that to happen again.
Right.
Because in that feeling, I was no use to my kids, no use to my wife, no use to school. It was just, I was shattered.
Absolutely.
Headaches and that sort of thing. And it was because I think the act of going into work every day allowed a break. Getting in the car and coming home, by the time I'm home, I'm switched off.
Yeah.
At least as much as you can be for a teacher.
Switched off from work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I had that time because my wife works at the same school as me, so we had that time to sort of chat about work. So when we get home, we're home.
Yeah.
And that stopped it from the time we had to get the girls to daycare to the time we had to get picked up. So my work day was good.
Yep.
Obviously, there's those bits I had to do, but I didn't have that anymore. So then I had to figure out how to do that.
So, okay, that leads nicely into what I was going to ask just before is this year obviously threw a curveball to everyone. Like you said, you had to adapt to remote learning. And I was going to ask, how did you find that this year? But I guess the question's kind of morphed more into, you said that you burnt out and you were aware, or you were able to identify that and say, look, I need a break. So how did you find being at home 24/7, like you said, with kids at school and kids at home? It must have been a whole different world to what you were used to.
Yeah, it was a whole different world than what we were expecting to moving over here. We were sort of expecting to move over to Melbourne, start something new at a school, but also be able to see my family, my parents, and my older brother in Sydney, that sort of thing. Hang out with people. And trust me, we get here and we go into remote learning. I'm still learning the systems at school. Yep. I'm still trying to get relationships with teachers and kids and that sort of thing. But then we're back to, I'm not able to see my parents. Yeah. Jess can't see hers. So it's now just us. I think the isolation was hard. We were very fortunate. We could, because we were essential service workers because of teachers. Right. We could still send the girls to daycare. So I do have teachers colleagues who couldn't do that.
Right.
So they had to juggle remote learning and their kids' remote learning at the same time because their husbands or partners were not essential service workers, so they weren't qualified. I think the actual aspect of doing my job remotely, I didn't find overly difficult.
Okay.
It was teaching like this.
Yep.
It has constraints, but it's a puzzle.
Sure. So it was almost a challenge you were ready to overcome because it's presented to you.
And the technology through education it's not overly difficult. Google Meets is easy to use. The Google Suites is very simple. It's very user-friendly. It's designed that way. Right. Google Classroom is great, and all that stuff I had experienced before. My last school was one-to-one devices, so they were very tech-savvy. So I know how to get kids using devices and learning with them.
For
So
sure.
that wasn't foreign. But I think the foreignness was trying to establish student relationships, relationship with colleagues, myself as a leader in the school as well, and getting people to actually know who I am. Because like coming back on site, when people were allowed to, our staff is about 100. So there was times I'd walk through the school site and I'd be like, I have never seen you before in my life.
Right.
I don't know your name. I've been here 6-7 months now.
Yeah.
And that made me feel awful. You know, especially as someone who's supposed to be a learning specialist is a leadership role. So having that, but then not knowing some of the staff, it's embarrassing.
For sure. And I think it's a tough thing I found as well is, you know, we had some Zoom drinks, we had some Google Hangout, you know, trivias and stuff like that. But I think it's the looking through a screen, you're not really connecting. And I guess, so as like you said, a team leader, that must be important to you to have those connections with A, your team, or B, people around you. So did that, was that hard this year?
Yeah, it was
Not job wise, but for you.
Yeah, I think because there was stuff that I wanted to be able to do for myself, to prove to myself that I could do, that I probably slowed down a little bit in.
Right.
So I had expectations of myself coming into this role, and I couldn't meet them. And through no fault of anyone,
No.
just couldn't do that. So slowing down was hard. And
Definitely.
but it's good that I have, like, I very fortunately have my family with me.
Mhm.
So there is that support network there to bounce ideas off of, and my girls take a lot of distractions. So which is really good. But just, some days and sometimes you just feel deflated a little bit. Being
Sure.
like, this is what I've been hard, but this is what we've been doing and trying to work towards. This was the goal. It's now another year in the making.
Exactly. It adds on that time. And I think it's an interesting point you bring up there, which I think I didn't take the time to think about as well, is I guess exhaustion or deflation, like you said, doesn't necessarily have to come from working an 80-hour week and not seeing anyone. It can be the opposite, and winding down and going at such a slow pace that you feel like, oh, well, I can't be bothered to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, you have all these things and you're just like, this is what I'm going to move over to a new country. You're going to start, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. Like, I think we were joking around a few months ago. People talking about they can't go hang out with their friends, they can't do that. And then I was like, stop to think about it. I'm just like, I actually, apart from you, obviously, Reese, I don't have any friends in Melbourne.
Yeah.
As my family, I have you, who I knew from New Zealand. But I was joking around. I was like, probably my best friend in this country is these two people I work with, because I see them every day. They are the people I talk to the most.
Yep.
You know, it's like the work life, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I job share in the classroom with another teacher who does the same role as me.
Right.
And we talk every day.
Of course.
And we text on the weekend to sort of ask what's going on, that sort of thing. But it's like, I haven't been able to make connections with people. For
sure. And like you said, that the work friend you end up spending more time with a work colleague than you do at home sometimes.
Yeah.
But I really feel for you there, because we didn't get given a global pandemic when we moved here, but it was the same situation. You moved over and you get busying with moving in and finding a place to live and finding a job. But when the dust settles, you kind of think, well, hold on, I guess I need to make friends again, which is, it's a weird concept to make friends from scratch.
Exactly. And the older you get, the harder it is to actually do that. Because,
for sure.
Yeah, I'm 32. So a lot of the people I know and meet around my age or similar to it they already have their really established group of friends because they've lived here for ages, you know, they've got their closeness, and sometimes people don't really want to venture out or bring a new person in. Even it's kind of like high school getting little cliques and that sort of thing. It is without being it, you know, like in New Zealand, we had the same people we hung out with all the time.
I think exactly. And I think I've mentioned this example when Brady and I have talked about it as well, is back home, we have friends that you would feel fine saying, hey, come over and we're going to watch movies all night. You know, we'll order a pizza, we'll put the TV on, whatever. I feel like when we were trying to make friends here, you're not at that stage yet. You got to go, okay, let's go and have dinner at a restaurant. Let's go and go to this event. It has to be an activity that you've got to go to. It's not a relaxing thing, or it seems like you can't just slide into that straight away.
Yeah. And it seems weird because, like, while I've been in Melbourne, apart from going out with family, I've probably had 3 or 4 social events with friends.
Right. Yeah.
2 were with you. Went to the tennis and had you guys over for dinner. Old colleague that I caught up with, who he's a great guy, but it's like one of those, he's a friend and an acquaintance, you know, one of those ones you'd happily go and see and have dinner with, but not the sort of person you'd hang out with all the time.
For sure.
And it's just, yeah. And then one was last weekend when I went to the pub with my little brother and a few of his friends.
Yeah.
Mainly so I could meet people.
Yeah, and it's great to have those avenues through knowing people.
Yeah.
But I mean, how have you felt about, well, the not being able to go home this year? Do you feel comfortable calling friends back home or FaceTiming? Or I have sometimes when I just game on PlayStation and it's not even a catch up kind of thing. Are you comfortable reaching out to people when you want to connect, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think when I want to connect, it's the person I feel most comfortable with. Obviously, my wife, and I live here. I try, and I don't know if this is the right mentality, and I don't know what it is, but if I'm calling someone, I'm not calling them for me, if that makes sense. I'm not calling them to sort of want or complain about how I'm feeling at that point in time. And that's not because I don't trust them or anything like that, but it's because I've been able to do that. I've been able to do that at home.
Right.
Not everyone has that. So when I'm calling people, it's sort of, I want the catch up. I want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
I want to know how they're doing. You know, I want to, yeah.
For sure. And so do you think by checking in with others, checking in on them helps you kind of check in with yourself?
Definitely. Yeah. I think it's a time to actually take a time away from maybe what I'm thinking or maybe what that is, or, you know, get out of the situation for a little while.
Yeah.
You know, think about something different, purposefully put myself in a place I feel safe, feel comfortable with. If it goes down the avenue of someone mentioned something that I know exactly what you're feeling like, then yeah, it goes that way. And I think this week, actually reaching out to people because you know, but the viewers don't know that my car got stolen this week. And brand new as well. We literally had it less than a week. We're getting it back, by the way.
Oh, fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, that's a relief. But both of us got sick. We all had to do a COVID test because we can't see the doctor if you got, and I'm an asthmatic, so it's like, I have to go get tested every time I need to see the doctor now.
Right.
So actually talking to people, so I called Adam, I called him yesterday, watching your clips as well, actually, because it's people I know on here.
Yeah.
We were texting, that sort of thing. So I think my avenue to vent for a little while, and I think that's the first time I've done it since I've been in Melbourne and been able to feel comfortable doing that. But it was more of a, let's see how everyone's going.
Yeah.
Everyone asked me how I'm going. I was like, oh yeah, car got stolen. It's been a shit week. Sorry for the language. I don't know if YouTube's going to censor that.
I'm sure we'll be okay. But no, I think that's a really interesting thing you say there, because I struggled with it for a long time as well, being over here. And of course, like you said, I've got Brady, you've got Jess, and you can talk about 99.999% of things.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need to chat to a mate or chat to your brother or your dad or something like that.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I thought, well, they're back home and they've got their own lives going on. So, you know what, I'll just leave it for now. And that was a bad thing to do because obviously things built up and stuff. And that's what I've tried to work on, especially this year as well, is I think reaching out and saying, hey, should we catch up? Everyone is always eager to jump. It might not be that second. They might go, oh yeah, sweet, I'll call you on Tuesday night, or I'll call you whenever. And I've also found it doesn't have to be a call necessarily.
Yeah.
You know, you can just send a few texts and all that. But no, I think I have a very similar thing of I like to check in with people and hope that they ask me if everything's all good.
And I think that's the key to it is you're not deflecting.
No.
You're not hiding, but you're open to talk about it if it goes that way.
Absolutely.
Even like what I said before, trying to get out of my own situation or my own head for a while, just talk about something different. That's a way to start feeling comfortable about doing it.
Yeah. And
you're making yourself safe.
Yes. And it nicely brings it to the same thing about the school thing is if people feel safe there, then they are open to if it's developing their learning or developing their feelings about something, it's all about the safety, which I guess that brings me to if you have had, you know, a shitty week or day or not even things necessarily going wrong. You know, your example this week is horrible and not a great situation for anyone to be in. But, you know, even if it's as small as, oh, today was just, let's write it off. What do you do for yourself? Do you have things that you go to if you know that you're in a bad headspace, or how do you deal with it yourself? Do you have things ready at the go, or?
I think it's situation dependent. Like obviously my example before that was anger and venting.
Right.
But I think those days where you're just looking forward to tomorrow, you know, feel like this is like you said, a write-off, then for me, it's either I go very quiet and I want to just watch a TV program or do something and not talk or do anything like that, or just go to bed.
Yep.
And even that's just watching TV. But that will get me out of my head for a while.
Right.
You know, it's a distraction.
For sure. So I guess, you know, even just coming home and blobbing on the couch and just putting something on, a show you enjoy or something like that. That, you know, that's what I was kind of after is that's a cool thing to do is you just take some time for yourself and do that.
But with some things, and it's dependent on, so I always look at I try to look at what I can control.
Okay.
I can vent about stuff, but at the end of the day, it's out of my control. Like we're at the report writing stage of the year.
Sure.
No teacher that you'll ever ask will say they enjoy this time. They enjoy seeing the results. They enjoy knowing where their kids are, how they've done. They don't enjoy the process of writing reports.
Yeah.
But it's a legal requirement that we have to do it. It's part of our job. We cannot control that.
Yeah.
So getting angry about it, getting overly stressed about it is not going to help.
Right.
And yes, I've been those years where I got very stressed and very bogged down about it, especially in my early career. But now I've been teaching for about 9 years now, nearly 10. And it's like, it is what it is. It'll get done. And try to make sure this process isn't affecting the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is, it's very similar to what you were saying about self-awareness, not just of yourself, but things you can and can't do. And you have to do the reports. So, and I imagine every job has these things where you have to do them and no one likes it. But rather than letting it upset you, you kind of power on through it.
Yeah. And I think it's prioritizing, knowing what you want to do, knowing what you need to do, and knowing what can wait.
Right. That's interesting.
And you get this stuff, like if some people prioritize, they do all the stuff they don't want to do first, get it out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a procrastinator. I will put it off. I will write all my reports in one weekend. I know I'm going to have a boring weekend, but I'm sacrificing a boring 2 days for every afternoon for 2 weeks.
Right.
2 hours every afternoon for 2 weeks. I've tried it many different ways. I've tried it that way where I do an hour each day to get as much done. I hated that hour every day. I tried to do it really early, and then I realized that didn't work because by the time I got to submit them, because I'd been so organized, the kids had changed.
Right.
So
of course,
still
yeah.
had to go through and tweak at the end anyway to get the most accurate result.
Yeah.
And I found doing it all in 1 week stresses people out. It stressed me out. I know I have a boring 2 days, Jess knows that I'm useless for a weekend. And my team leaders are sitting there going, oh my God, Kyle, what are you doing? Get it done. But it's done.
Yeah. And it works for you.
It works for me. So I found what works for me. Yeah. And I think I was at we had one of my schools I worked at, we had a leadership forum where any aspiring leaders could go and listen to people. We had a guy called Jeremy Kiddian come in. He's a big business consultant. So he goes over, he's from South Africa. He goes to a bunch of businesses around the world and makes his living consulting with CEOs and leaders and that sort of stuff. Sure. He talked around, he had an analogy around life being a juggling act. We've all heard that one before. But at this point in time, when he was talking to me, I had made some mistakes in my first real leadership job. Okay. And I didn't like it. I was at a point where I didn't want to do it anymore. Right. Pack my bags, get up, done. But I knew I couldn't. But it was a probably crap feeling for about a year. It showed what I was, what I wasn't, and it was hard to see. Right. But when he started talking about life as a juggling act, he said life's got like, I always struggle to remember the fifth one. He said there was 5 balls in life. You've got values, you got health, you got love, you got social, and you've got work. Okay. I may have got one of those wrong, so if he's listening, he can correct me. But he said,
if he's listening, then I'd be really happy.
Yeah. There are the 4 balls, so those 4, every ball apart from the work ball is made of glass. Okay. They shatter easily. When you drop them or you drop the ball, it breaks and it's hard to fix. Okay. Like when you lose someone's trust, it's easy to lose trust. It's hard to gain trust. Yes. And that's what I think the analogy there is. But he said the work ball, the big part of your life, it's made of rubber. Okay. So you're juggling around. You need to make sure that those 4 balls, your social, your health, your values, and your love, your family, do not break, do not drop whatsoever, because that's what's most important. You drop the ball at work, it will bounce straight back up. Right. And that really resonated with me. That's just like, I've dropped the ball a few times, but it's rubber. It's bouncing back up. And we all have. My focus was. Yes. And I think there was a few balls that I even stopped juggling and I just put down to the side. Yeah, so interesting. Fitness and health was one of them, which didn't help any of the other ball, Yeah. So it's like, get them all back up, start juggling in. That's what I keep thinking about. I can control some stuff. You can't control everything. Absolutely. And I really like it's the first time I've heard that analogy put that way. And it does. Juggling is not an easy thing to do. That's what I think I like about it, is that it's not saying, here's a train and here are all your carriages, because the train just goes forward. I'm not saying any train drivers, it must be, you have to learn how to drive a train, but it's the juggling thing is, it is difficult. But we're all doing our own juggle. So we're all trying. It is. And you can get wound up in things that you can't control. You know,
Absolutely.
I can't control other people's behavior around me.
Yeah.
And in report writing time, one of those things, everyone is stressed around you. Everyone is busy. Everyone has a short attention span.
Yeah.
People's sort of fuse is very small at that point in time.
Yeah.
Name it. Be aware of it. And know what to focus on. Focus on the things you can control. For me, if I'm feeling very tired throughout the day and I'm feeling flat, I probably didn't go to sleep early enough.
Yeah.
Get some things done quicker, go to bed earlier, go outside for a walk, get myself out of the situation.
Yeah.
If I walk into a supermarket and someone's yelling at the clerk because they didn't get their order right, or they didn't scan, or something scanned and it was the wrong price, that's no one's fault.
Yeah.
That's a system. That's a program. But someone's had a bad day. That store clerk's probably had 6 or 7 people doing that to them throughout the day. No one likes working in the supermarket. I didn't. And it's, no one can control that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you may be impatient, you may want to get somewhere, but at the same time, be aware of what everyone else is feeling, what you're feeling, and should I get angry at that?
Yeah, I think it's that all-time important lesson that you get taught from a young age is take 10 seconds to count to 10, and of course we're all going to. I definitely don't count to 10 sometimes, and things rattle me up for sure. But no, I think that's a really cool thing to take away from this, and it's got me thinking about it as well. Is just take the time to look at yourself, and not that you might be at fault, but take the time to be like, is this worth getting angry over? Do I need to talk to someone? How is this affecting me? So, no, I think if there's anything to take away from this, then self-awareness or taking the time to look at yourself is a great one. And I think that's a great time to wrap it up there as well. So I'd like to say thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat. I enjoyed it. Hope you did.
Yeah, no, it was good. Again, like I text you earlier, it's something I've been looking forward to for a little while, because it's something, it's something to do, it's something to have a chat with, and
absolutely,
yeah, it's good.
But no, thanks for sharing all your wisdom and knowledge, and say hi to everyone yelling out in the background. But like I said to the viewers, if you can go along to the Mo space, I'll leave the link in the description below. Obviously, any donations are greatly appreciated. But thanks, Kyle, for stopping by, and we'll be sure to catch up soon.
Yeah, no worries, guys. Catch you later.